Hi, and welcome to the Flipped Learning Network's Flipped Educator Spotlight series. My name is Kelly Walsh, and I'm the Community Administrator for the Flipped Learning Network. The Flipped Learning Network is the original online hub of the Flipped Learning community. We're a not-for-profit organization whose mission includes providing access to a wealth of tools, resources, and professional development opportunities. We hope to help educators build on the possibilities inherent in flipped teaching and learning, and to explore evolving student-centered instructional practices. We invite educators everywhere to explore the resources available at flippedlearning.org and to contribute to the discussion through comments, questions, and by submitting your own posts. Indeed, the site is built on contributions from flipped educators like yourself who write blog posts. We also encourage you to join us on Slack, where we have an ongoing dialogue. Hello, everyone. Today we're talking with Kathryn Nieves. And Kathryn, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background as a teacher?
Okay. I am a middle school special education teacher in Sparta, New Jersey, which is in the northwest section of New Jersey. I've been there for 2 years, and I teach any grade 6 through 8 in the resource room and in-class support, mostly in the language arts classrooms.
Okay, great. So, you reached out and let us know that you're using flipped classroom techniques, and you've certainly got a more unique situation than is, the norm, sort of. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into the flipped classroom and decided that this would be right for your situation?
Sure. Well, since I'm in the resource room, the levels of students tend to vary. You can have students that still need to work on their basic skills, and you could have students in the same class with them that are on the cusp of being pushed into more of the in-class support environment. So the level of knowledge of my students really varied, and I was looking for a way to kind of appeal to all of the students in my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought flipped learning was probably the best way to do that, because it kind of let me tailor the students' learning toward their specific needs. Instead of addressing them all in the classroom at one time, they were able to go home and do it, and then I was able to help and support them individually in class. So after a lot of trial and error at the very beginning, that was what I settled on, and it seems to be working really well for my class so far.
Great. Why don't you walk us through like a typical scenario with a student or a group of students and how you might approach creating a lesson and so on?
Okay, so how I kick off every kind of new unit is I do a pre-assessment to see what the students already know, what they need to work on an individual level. So the last unit we just did was argument-based. So I gave them kind of a Google form just at the very beginning of the unit to see where everybody was. And that kind of helps me to pick what kind of videos I'm going to give the students for their homework. So some students may need work on just developing a claim statement. Others might need actually the specific outline of an argument essay, looking at an argument essay. And so then what I do is I make videos that fit toward what those students need. They go home. Usually I give them 2 days usually for assignments. So I'll assign it on a Monday, I'll be due on a Wednesday, assign on a Wednesday, due on a Friday. I always try to give 2 days to get it done. So they'll go home on a Monday or Tuesday, and they'll work on the assignment at home. I link them to Google Forms. That way I get instant feedback for how they did, so I can come prepared on Wednesday with what I need to help them with in either a small group or one-on-one, or who I'm going to pair up together to work together. And that's kind of what I've been doing so far to try to get the flipped classroom working in my classroom. It's a little different than I feel like most people do, but it works really well for the resource room environment.
Excellent. Very interesting. What tools do you use to create your videos?
Usually I use Screencastify, which is the Chrome extension, and I'll do some kind of like presentation, or I'll even, I started this year actually doing annotation on the computer. So I'll pull up a article and I'll use like an annotation tool in my stylus to write on my screen to kind of have the students follow along with my annotation. But either way, it's still through the Screencastify, just because it's so easy to go into my drive then and put it on YouTube and share with the students through Classroom. Great.
So, how have you seen this transition, right? So when you first started working with these students a couple of years ago, you were not flipping. How is it now changing what you're doing in the class?
It gives me a lot more time to actually work with the students one-on-one. Before, when I was doing the direct instruction in class, half the students were bored because they already knew what they were doing. Half of them were lost and needed additional support. So it kind of frees me up to work with them more. I have more time to walk around, to meet them where they are and work with their individual needs and concerns and problems. So in terms of just freeing me up to work with them, it's really done a lot. The students needed a lot of, I want to say, coaching through it at the beginning, because they were so used to the mindset of homework is me going home and I learned this and I know this already and shouldn't have any questions.
Yeah.
So it took a little while, especially for the 6th grade. That was probably the hardest. 7th grade was a little easier, but the 6th grade, the very beginning of the year, had issues with, well, I never learned this. I don't understand. And I'm like, that's okay. You need to, you're just going to work through it, and then we're going to work through it in class. They're better now toward the end of the year. At the very beginning, it was a really tough change in mindset for them.
So does this have you thinking about how to continue to evolve that? How do you introduce the idea?
When I first started doing it, I kind of just sent the video out, and I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And it didn't register with me that they don't know how to learn from a video. I mean, they do in the sense that they can go home and look up on YouTube how to do something and follow along step by step. But in terms of in the classroom, this year, instead of just throwing it at them, I took the first one and we did it together. So I showed them how you have to pause, you have to rewind, you have to rewatch and clarify when you don't understand things. You can't just watch through it in the background while you're doing something else. So that seemed to help them, because it gave them kind of a model of what they're supposed to be doing. But that was something the first year that I did it, I didn't do that, and it kind of was disastrous the first time I tried it. But that one really helped. So.
It's interesting. You'll hear that from a lot of teachers after they gain some experience with it, the idea of teaching them how to watch the video, which at first sounds a little like, huh? But as you do it, you realize it really is important.
It is.
So how about the other, let's say, stakeholders, parents? Are you doing anything in particular to keep make the parents aware of what you're doing in the classroom?
Last year I sent out a newsletter because it was like the middle of the year when I had started doing it. This year I actually flipped my back to school night. So I sent them all a video home like the week before back to school night, and I said, this is everything I'd cover on back to school night. And so because we only had about 10 minutes together, if that, I said we could have an authentic discussion and kind of talk about it. But I said, it's also because I want you to see what your students are going to be going through with homework with me. Kind of you learning new information at home and coming in and talking about it in class. A couple parents were hesitant at the beginning, but as they've seen the year go on, they've liked that there's always videos to go back. There's a reference, not only for their students, but for themselves. So they've kind of become more on board to it. And I think the flipped video initially at the beginning of the year was helpful for them to see how that was. Because for a lot of them, that's a very new approach to teaching and education.
That's excellent. I can't believe how many years I've been talking about this, and nobody has ever said that they flipped the parent-teacher night idea. And it's
really nice.
Right? You get, you go into the school and you're there like 10, 15 minutes maybe with the teachers. It's always a rush. What a great idea for the teachers to send out a little video and then better leverage a little bit of time in the class.
Yeah.
How about administrators at the school? Are they aware of what you're doing, and how was your conversation with them?
I think to an extent. I believe I adjusted a little bit last year with them. I said, this is what I'm going to do in terms of homework. I didn't get any pushback in terms of what I was doing, because I think, as with most administration, if it's working for the students, it's probably okay. So since it's been helping my students, I haven't had any negative feedback or any negative commentary. They are aware of what I'm doing. A lot of teachers are aware of what I'm doing in my building as well, and they've asked to come in and see kind of how it works in my classroom. There are a couple, I know, teachers in my district that are flipping, and obviously all of ours look completely different, especially my end. So I've gotten a lot of nice feedback that way in terms of wanting to come in and see what I'm doing and compare it to what they're doing or what they're interested in doing. So.
Excellent. So any particular challenges or obstacles that you've had to overcome? Or you're trying to figure out how to overcome?
I didn't expect so many students, and I always heard it from listening to other people talk about their flipped classroom, the access to technology. And Sparta's a pretty affluent area, and so they have access to technology at home. It didn't dawn on me that so many of my students, especially 6th grade, wouldn't have their own device. I just thought, there's so many of them that have their cell phones, it'll be fine. And I didn't realize how many of them, their parents don't want them on a cell phone yet, which is understandable, or they don't want them on a personal laptop yet, so they have limited access to their school, to do their schoolwork on the computer. So that was a challenge at first, which is why I started doing the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, because we have academic assistance, which is like a study hall built into the end of the day. So I figured it always gives the students 2 days to do the assignment in the library at the end of the day. So so they don't have to worry about going home and doing that. But that was a situation I didn't expect to be in. And I'm assuming, I haven't done it with 8th graders yet. This is only in class support for 8th grade. That probably wouldn't happen. And especially since we're going 1-to-1 next year, it probably won't happen next year. But I didn't expect that moving forward.
Yeah. Well, it does come up. It's often a concern that a lot of teachers have. The good news is everybody seems to figure out how to work around it as you have. So what's next as you continue to evolve your practice and leverage the flip?
I'm trying this marking period to flip a whole novel. I have read about English teachers doing that in like AP honors classes, so I don't know how it's going to work for my class. So I'm going to have different sections due each week. They have to read it by themselves and complete some sort of activity, and then in class we'll have a discussion about it. Which is different because usually I have to read the novels in class with the students to enhance their understanding, but I actually went through and recorded myself reading the entire novel and stopping and talking through it, and then they have to do something to show that they understood what they were reading. That way I figure we could do more authentic discussions and activities in class. I don't know how it's going to work. Hoping it'll be okay, but we'll see how it goes. That kicks off next week when we get back from spring break, so we'll see how that goes.
Interesting. Excellent. Well, good luck with it. So how's the feedback been from students?
At first, they were confused. They didn't understand what the point was. How is this going to help them? How is this going to make me better? If I go home and I learn it myself, what are we doing in school? So at first, they were a little skeptical of it. I have students come back now and they said that they miss the flipped homework, honestly. And the students this year said that it's been helpful for them because they feel like they're getting something that's specifically made for them instead of just like a general direct instruction. Everybody gets the same thing. And my classroom is very differentiation based. So students are aware that everybody's getting different things that they need or that they're interested in. So different students have different videos and that doesn't bother them. They realize that this is something they need to get better. So in terms of student feedback, they seem to really like it because they feel like it fits with them.
Excellent. Any particular examples come to mind of, how it just worked really well for a student or?
I did one session with nonfiction where the ranges were huge, and I have a couple students who are about to actually go into in-class support, so they needed to work on more annotation skills that they'll be required to do when they get into that environment. And then I had students that still were struggling with even finding central idea. So they were completely even, like the leveling of the two was, it was a huge discrepancy. But it really helped because the students were able to get different things out of the same article. So actually we're reading the same article, different levels, different lexile levels, same topic. But it focused more on the skills that they needed to work on. So it was nice because they were able to still have a discussion as a class when they came in on Wednesday, but it focused on different things that they needed to help them understand what they were reading.
So are you sharing any of your work online anywhere?
I started to blog about it a little bit. I need to get better with that. I've been falling behind. But I've been wanting to share more about what I'm doing because I feel like there's not a lot of resources out there there's a lot of in-class support research on how flipped classroom has helped, but not the resource room specifically. So I've been trying to put that out there in case other teachers want to be aware of what they could be doing. I'm presenting about my resource Flipped Classroom at the AMLE conference in November. So I'm hoping that'll help a little bit to push out more about the resource room Flipped Classroom.
Yeah, we definitely, we get requests at the Flipped Learning Network about how about flipping outside of math and science, and we're even seeing a lot around English, but when you start to get off into other subjects or like in your case, it's not so common, and I'm sure there absolutely will be teachers that will appreciate that. What's the address of where you're blogging if you wish to share that?
It's edtechstickynotes.weebly.com. I'm trying to get back on it.
I will put that up on the screen.
Okay.
All right. So any other particular observations, tips, questions, thoughts that we didn't chat about?
That we haven't chatted about yet? I think I covered everything. I hope. My biggest thing is always to make sure that you teach the students how to watch the video. That's the first thing I tell everybody. I'm like, don't just send it out. It needs the modeling first.
Absolutely.
As with everything else. So, And I always, because people always ask about making the videos themselves, and I'm not very good with speaking and being recorded usually, but it really does, it does get easier because a lot of people ask me about making the videos themselves, and I'm like, it's okay to mess up and to start over, or even just keep going with what you were saying. The students don't care. And in terms of finding videos online versus making your own, I've found that my students like when I make them myself. They don't like the videos that I find. They find that it's not, they feel like they're hearing from me and they're more inclined to listen instead of listening to somebody else. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but I know for my population, there's a big difference between hearing my voice and hearing some voice they don't know.
Yeah, it's a very common observation. Question about that. So one of the other things I've seen pop up, there was one particular article a week or two ago talking about, it's time consuming. This is harder, especially depending upon how you do it. In other words, maybe in a class that you teach the same class over and over again, maybe you make some videos and then you don't have to spend so much time doing that on a regular basis, where it sounds like in your case, you're definitely going to have to kind of, create new videos and keep doing this as your situation and students in particular change. How are you finding that? Is it overly burdensome, or?
At first it was. It was really difficult for me to keep up with it my first year, especially because the differentiated videos and having to make like 4 or 5 videos for each population was time consuming, especially because I don't teach, it's up for debate what subject I teach which grade I teach each year, I should say. So last year was 7th grade, 6th grade. Next year I don't know where I'll be. So it takes a lot of time. I try to follow the minute rule by grade. It makes it a little easier, like limiting myself to 6 minutes for my 6th graders. It does make it a lot less time consuming, as opposed to making like one 30-minute video. That's just way too long, and that would take a really long time to do, but you can do, a couple 6-minute videos pretty quickly.
Right. Yep. Excellent tip. That's great observation. And I don't know that I've heard that particular phrase before, the minute rule. So very good. All right. Well, excellent. This was a great chat. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with everybody on the Flipped Learning Network, and good luck with all your work in the future, and we hope to see you out there online.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
All right, thanks.